Okay, so what we're going to do is this online topic 4 test together, and we'll get done probably the odds with maybe 1 or 2 evens if we have time to, because there's a couple questions that are kind of confusing, okay? So question number 1 is pretty straightforward. It says solve the system by graphing. Tell whether the system has one solution, no solution, or infinitely many. Well, remember, if I graph this equation, and I graph the second equation, and if they cross at one point, that's one solution. If they are parallel, that means no solutions. And if I graph one and the other one falls right on top of it, it means what? Infinitely many solutions. So this would be one solution, right? Or no solutions or infinitely many. So how do I graph these? Now in y'all's calculator, it's different than the old calculators, because in y'all's calculator, I can graph it exactly the way it's given to me. So go to Menu, or the home screen, go to New Document after the home screen. Right? Do I want to save my last one? No. And just add the graph of these two functions, except when I graph these functions, let me zoom in so you can see this. I want to graph them as a relation. So how do I graph these as a relation? I've got to change this to function entry, and I've got to change it from function entry to a relation. Here's an easy way of doing that. Instead of hitting Menu, watch. If I hit Delete, I can go down to number 6 and graph a relation. Right, so let's go to 6 and graph a relation. So I want to graph the relation x minus 2y is equal to 3. Type it in that exact same way. X minus 2y equals what? 3. And there it is. Hit enter. It graphed it for you, right? You didn't have to put it in slope intercept form like in the old calculators. How to graph the next one? Same way. Except to get another graph on top of that graph, I hit Tab, T-A-B right here. And then I just plug in the second function, which is y is equal to what? Negative 2 what? There you go. And they would cross at one point. So there's one solution. What is that one solution? How do I tell where that is? Go to Menu, Analyze Graph, and find the intersection, which is 4. So move that to the left of where you think it is, and the other line to the right of where you think it is. And it's at 3, 0, which is answer choice C. Alright, so let's go to the next one. I'm going to skip that one. Y'all can do that one on your own. Let's do 3 together. Solve this system by graphing. Well, once again, to graph it, just go to your home screen, New Document. Don't save the last one. Right, and add your graph. So I've got a 2x. See, that's not a 2x. How do I change it so where I can graph anything? I can delete it and graph a relation, or just go to Menu and then what? Another way of doing it besides delete and then go to relation. Go to Menu, Graph Entry Edit, and graph a relation. And the relation I'm graphing is 2x is equal to negative 4y plus 10. And then graph my other relation by going to Tab, and that's just 6y is equal to what? Negative 3x plus 12. Now once again, to hit x, I hit these x's and y's down here. Okay? And then just hit enter. And then what do you notice about these two graphs? They're parallel. They're going to have the same slopes but different y-intercepts, so there would be how many solutions? None. So that's D. I'm going to leave 4 for you to do on your own. Let's do 5 together. It says solve this system using substitution. Okay? Now on the test, I could care less how you do this. But for this problem, since it said we're using substitution, I'm going to solve it using substitution. And then we'll check it by graphing to make sure we get it right. Okay, so here's how I solve it by substitution. My equations are x plus y is equal to negative 1. That's my first equation. Oh, it's 2y, sorry. X plus 2y is equal to negative 1. And my second equation is 2x minus 3y is equal to 12. So to solve this by substitution, I pick an equation and solve for a variable. Pick any equation and solve for any variable you want. Which equation do you want to pick? Top or bottom? Okay, I'd pick top 2. Now solve it for what variable looks like it'd be easy to solve for? x. Get x by itself. Well, how do I get x by itself? When I get x by itself, I just take that 2y and I move it to the other side of the equal to, and it becomes a negative 2y minus 1. So what's my next step? After pick an equation and solve for a variable, my next step by substitution is to plug that variable value into the next equation wherever you see that x. So this would be 2 times x, whatever x is, minus 3 times y is equal to 12. And what is x? Negative 2y minus 1. And plug that in and just solve it. So to solve that, I have to distribute first. So that would be a negative 4y, and then 2 times negative 1 is a negative what? 2 minus 3y is equal to 12. Then combine like terms. That negative 7y minus 2 is equal to 12. Now what do? Variables on one side, constants on the other. So I move that 2 across, which is going to make it a positive 2, or just add 2 to each side. And that's 0, so I'm left with negative 7y is equal to 14. And then divide by negative 7, divide by negative 7 to get the y by itself. So what's 14 divided by negative 7? Negative 2. So I know y is negative 2. How do I find out what x is? Well, plug that back into my equation over here. What was my equation over there? To get x, it's negative 2 times y. So to get x, it's negative 2 times whatever y is minus 1. And what's y in this problem? Negative 2. So what's negative 2 times negative 2? 4 minus 1 is 3. So what's x? 3. So x is 3, y is negative 2. Which is answer choice, which one? A. Now, we could have gotten that answer, and we can prove that answer by just graphing it. And I'll show you that real quick, and then we'll move on and not do any more of those. Okay? So to solve this by graphing, I just go to Menu, or Home Screen, I'm sorry. Then go to New. Don't save my last one, and then add my graph. So Home Screen, add the graph. And I want to graph a relation. So an easy way to get to that is hit Delete, and then go to number 6. And we can change that entry to relations really easily without having to go to Menu, Graph Edit Entry, and so forth. Now what do I type in? X plus 2y equals what? Negative 1. And then hit Tab to graph my other relation, which is 2x minus what? 3y equals 12. And find the intersection by going to Menu, Analyze Graph, Intersection. Move out to the left and to the right of where you think it crosses. And what did we get? 3, negative 2, just like we got in our answer. So we can check it by graphing, or you can use any method you want when you take your EOC, right? Likewise on this next test. So I'm going to skip 6. Y'all do that on your own. 7. Okay, we could solve this by substitution as well. Or what's another way of solving 7? Couldn't I just graph it? So let's graph it to solve it. So let's go to New Document once again. Don't save my last one. Let's add these graphs. How do I graph the first one? X plus y over 2 is equal to 4. How do I plug it in my calculator? I have to go to something to change that to a relation. What do I do to change it to a relation? I got 2 ways now. What's one of them? Delete. Then what? 6, right? So go down to number 6, or just hit 6. And then type in x plus y divided by 2 in parentheses, y divided by 2, close parentheses, equals what? 4. There's that one. Let's graph the next one. So I hit Tab, and then I have to put in parentheses x divided by 3, close parentheses, plus 2y equals what? 5. Boom. Where do they cross? Go to Menu, Analyze Graph, and then find the intersection, which is 4. So move that to the left and the right of where you think it crosses. And where is that? Can you see it? If you can't see it, remember I can move my cursor there above it and it becomes a hand, and I hold the middle of my screen down, or my little mouse pad down, until it closes, and I can move it to where I can see it. Push it again to let it go, and it would be at 3, 2. How easy is that? Calculator, do the work for you. Now, I do want to help you with number 8. It's kind of confusing how to set it up. So if y'all need help with number 8, you might want to pay attention. 10 years from now, this person A will be twice as old as person B. 5 years ago, A was 3 times as old as B. What are the present ages of A and B? So we're going to let A be equal to the present age of person 1. And then B is going to be equal to the present age of a different person 2. Okay? Let's pretend like I'm person 1 and you're person 2, right? So how old are you right now? 13? 14 maybe? How old are you going to be in 10 years? If you're 13, you're going to be 23. If you're 14, you're going to be 24. See? How old am I in 10 years? If I'm 43 years old, then in 10 years I'll be 53 years old. Make sense? So in this first problem, it says 10 years from now, what is my age? Well, that's my age plus 10. Don't you agree? So if I'm 47, in 10 years I'm going to be 48, right? If I'm 50, in 10 years I'm going to be 60 and 7 and so forth. You get the idea? That's me. Now it says 10 years from now, me, I'm going to be 10 years older. And then you will be twice as old as B. So person A will be twice as old as person B. So 10 years from now, A is going to equal to twice the age of person B. So is that just a B here?
Yes.
No, because you're going to age too 10 years from now. So you're going to be 10 years older, so it's going to be B plus 10, because 10 years from now, you're not going to be the same age as you are now, right? In 10 years, okay, you're going to be, or my age is going to be double your age. Make sense? Okay, so that's the first equation. So what's the second equation? Well, it says 5 years ago, so if I take my age right now and if I subtract 5, so if I'm 45 and I subtract 5, what am I 5 years ago?
40.
I'm 40 years old. Okay, what's your age 5 years ago? You take your age now and subtract 5, right? But it says 5 years ago, person A was 3 times as old as you, which is person B. So it's 3 times person B's age, but it's not person B's age now, it's person B's age 5 years in the past. So there's my system of equations. How do I solve it? How do you solve that system of equations? You want to use elimination, substitution, graphing? If I use graphing, I got to use X and Y's. So A is going to be my age, and B is going to be your age, which is Y. So X is A, Y is B. So that way I can graph it. So this is going to be X. This is going to be Y when I plug it in my calculator. This is X, and this is Y when I plug it in my calculator. So just remember, X is my age, and Y is your age. So if I want to solve this by graphing in my calculator, just go to your home screen, new document, don't save my last one, and add your graph. Wait a minute. How do I graph? X plus 10 is equal to 2 times in parentheses Y plus 10. I can't do it this way. This is in function notation. So I can go to menu, graph edit entry, and change that to a relation. Or I could have just deleted and went to number 6, right? Same way. And then plug it in. X plus 10 equals 2 times what in parentheses? Y plus 10. There's that one. And let's graph the other one. My age minus 5, so I go to tab, and that would be X minus 5, is equal to 3 times your age 5 years ago. So that would be 3 times your age, which is Y, minus 5. You can graph those and see where they cross. Well, it's way over here somewhere, right? So I don't see it. So I can zoom out until I see it. Or I can just go to menu, and I can go to my window, and I can change my window settings, right? To 0 to 100. I don't think I'm going to be 100 years old, do you? And let's count by, I don't know, tens. And then let's go from your age, being 0 to 100. And let's count by tens as well. So my x's is from 0 to 100, my y's are 0 to 100. and I'm counting by tens. So where's that intersection? Well, that intersection is when x is equal to y. And the value that gives me x equal to y is your age and my age. So I go to menu, analyze graph, and I find the intersection, which is 4. So to solve a system of equations, you just graph it and find the intersection. So my intersection is at the point 50, 20. What does that mean? 50, 20. That's x, and that's y. That's an x coordinate and a y coordinate. But what does x represent? Person A's age. And what does y represent? Person B's age. So how old is person A? 50. A is 50, and B is what? 20. That's their present age today. You got it? So 9's kind of confusing too, so let me set up 9 for you so you don't miss it as well. The ratio of two persons' income, so that means the ratio of income 1 to income 2, or income 1 to income 2 is how you write ratios. Or another way of writing it is as a fraction. Income 1 is to income 2. And that's equal to what? 9 to 7. So who makes more money? Income of person 1 or income of person 2? Person what? 1 makes more money. Can you write an equation for that? Right? Well, to write an equation for that, look. If this is a proportion, to write an equation or to solve a proportion, I can use the cross products. So 9 times income 2's, or person with income 2, is equal to what? 7 times income 1. So what if I want to use x and y for this? Let's let x be equal to income 1. And y is equal to the income. You know what income is, how much money a person makes. Income 2. You got it? So x is income 1. Right? So that's I1. So that's really like x. And income 2 is y. Why am I writing in terms of x and y? So I can graph it to solve it, right? Isn't that easy to do if I can graph it to solve it? So 7 times x is equal to 9 times what? Y. There's my first equation. 9 times y, remember y is income 2, is equal to 7 times x, which is income 1. Now, the second sentence tells me my second equation. The difference in their income is $200. So if I take, is it x minus y is equal to 200, or would it be y minus x is equal to 200? Which way do I write it? Because the difference means I'm subtracting the 2, right? And if I take 700 minus 900, I get a negative number versus 900 versus 700. So I got to remember, which one's the bigger income? Income 1 or income 2? Remember, this is a ratio of income 1 to income 2. Income 1 is bigger, and that's x. So it's x minus what? Y. Income 1 is to income 2 as a proportion. So if I take the difference of it, I get a positive 200. There's my system of equations. Just graph it to solve it. Or use substitution, or use elimination. I could care less which. Y'all want to see this done any other way? How do you want to see it done? Graphing, substitution, or elimination? Y'all are going to have to do that on your test. It doesn't matter which. Graphing? So to graph it, it's real easy. I just plug in this as a relation. So go to your home screen, new document, don't save my last one, and just add this graph too. And then go to delete, relation, and then just graph 9y is equal to what? 7x. Enter. And then now let's graph the next one. The next one is x minus y is equal to 200. So I hit tab, x minus y is equal to 200. Enter, and there it is. I don't see the other one. I might have to zoom out, or I have to change my window. If you want to zoom out, just go to menu, window zoom, and zoom out until I see that intersection, which it might be a while. Right? Because this is actually 200. See how it's way up here? See how I'm still zooming out? Took me a while, but I finally got to it. And in order to calculate the intersection, you have got to physically see where they cross in your calculator. So now to go to menu, Analyze graph and find the intersection. And what do we get our answer to be? X is 900 and Y is what? 700. So what does that mean? Income 1 is how much money each week? $900 per week. And then person 2's income is how much per week? $700. So that's answer choice B. Y'all got it? Do we understand how to solve that problem? You might see one like that on the test. You got to set up a proportion. Okay? So we've done those before too in the homework. All right, 10, I'm going to leave you to do. That's not bad. That's a good question, though, to see on the ESC. I want to skip over to, let's look at 13 real quick. If you want to solve 13, you could do this in your calculator. Y'all know that, right? How do I solve 13 in my calculator? Just to find the answer real quick. So skip over to 13, hit menu. Actually, let's go to home screen. Let's do a new document. Don't save my last one. Then go to add a graph. How do I graph inequalities? Y'all remember? Graph it as a relation. That's it. Graph it as a relation. So go to menu or delete. Delete might be easier. And go to relation, which is number 6. What relation do we want to graph? 5x plus y is greater than 10. So I just type that in. 5x plus what? Y is greater than. How do I get to a greater than symbol? It's control equal to. And then I want to do greater than 10. And there we go. I don't know if you can see that, but if I zoom in, is that a dashed line or solid line? Dashed or solid? Can y'all tell me? It's dashed. It's a dotted line. Now let's graph the other one by going to tab and then just type in 2x plus y is less than, so go to control enter, go to my less than symbol, and then type in a 15. Is that a dashed or a solid line? Can y'all tell? If you look in there, that is a dashed or dotted line. And then my shaded region doesn't look like theirs, so I got to zoom out a little bit. So let's just zoom out a couple times and see if we can get ours to look like theirs. There we go. All right, so let me grab this to get it out of the way. So maybe you can see that shaded region. Can y'all see the double shaded region? Yes? So I'm grabbing that and moving it. Where is it? Anything in that triangular region, which all of them look like that on my answer choices, don't they? They're all the correct shaded region, but what's wrong? You got to pick the one with the right boundary lines. The boundary lines in the first one would be dotted and dotted, so it's not A. See how this is a solid and a dashed? It's not B. C is a solid and a solid. That's only if it was a greater than or equal to or a less than or equal to, which it's not. So the only thing it can be is D because both of them are dashed. So to make sure you don't miss that one. That's D. Okay, I want to go to question number 17, and I want to show you something in your calculator that will save you some time. In question 17, here's what this wants you to do. It wants you to come up with an equation for car 1's value. So come up with an equation in slope-intercept form for the value of car 1, and then do the same thing for the value of car 2. How much is it worth after so much years of driving? Or so many miles on it, okay? So how do I come up with an equation given a table? Do y'all remember? Do a what? A list in a spreadsheet and do a linear regression. My calculator will do this for me, but it will do it all on the same page. I can do all of these on the same page, and I'll show you how it'll do it on the same page, and it'll graph both of them for you on the same graph. But you better follow along so you know how to do this. So hit the home screen, go to New Document, don't save my last one, and we're going to add a list in a spreadsheet, and I need to title my list as X being my miles, or if you want, you can type out miles. I'm not going to. It takes too long. So just remember, X represents the number of miles you drive a car. All right, so tab over. What's this column going to represent? It's going to represent the value of car what? 1. So if you want to type in car 1, you can. I'm not. I'm just going to call that Y. Y is the value of car 1. Do you understand? And then Z is going to be the value of car 2. So we're entering in 3 columns of information. I'm going to enter in 25,000. Then I'm going to enter in the next mileage of the car is 50,000. Then if the car goes 75,000, what is it worth? And then 100,000 miles on the car. Now what's going to happen typically is as you put more miles on the car, isn't the value going to go down? So the value of car 1 with 25,000 miles on it was $22,960. What about car 2? 19,680? Oh, that's car 1 still, I'm sorry. So the value of car 1, as we put more miles on it, it's going down. What if you have 75,000 miles on the car? What's it worth? Okay, this is kind of like Kelly Blue Book values. Maybe this is a Toyota Camry or something. Maybe it's a Ford truck. I don't know, but as you put more miles on it, it's going down in value. So if this car has 100,000 miles on it, it's worth $13,120. What about the other car? So maybe I want to buy the other car, and I want to see which one's going to be worth so much money at so many miles. So maybe this is a Toyota, and this was a Ford. And the Ford's value after 25,000 miles is $20,376. Type that in. Then after 50,000 miles, it's worth $17,806. And then 15,236. And then 12,666. Oops. 1, 2, 666. Okay. And there's the value of these cars. Well, what's an equation that tells me the value of car 1 if it has 500,000 miles or 110,000 miles or 120,000 miles? How do I find the value of that? Go to an empty cell and come up with a line that goes through those 2 points. What's an equation of a line that goes through those points? It's also a function rule for its value. So to do that, you just go to Menu, Statistics, Stat Calculations, and do an equation, linear regression, in what form? Slope-intercept form. For what? The calculator's wanting to know. What do you want X to be? Well, I want it to be the miles. And I want the Y to be the value of car 1, which is what variable? Didn't we say that was Y? So that's Y. And we're going to save this as function 1. So hit enter. Okay, so once I hit enter, it's saved into that. Okay, so we're going to do the exact same thing in an empty cell over here. So I have an equation for the value of car 1. Let's do the same thing to come up with an equation for the value of car 2. So hit Menu, Statistics, Stat Calculations, and we want to come up with a linear equation in slope-intercept form for car 2. So X is still the miles, right? X is X. And then what's the value of car 2? What did we use for the value of car 2? What letter did I say to use for that? Z, remember? That's the column Z that we're going to use for my Y coordinates. And then we're going to save that as function 2. Enter. And they're already graphed for you. Watch. Add a page. And the graphs are already there. The equations are already there too. So what's the equation for car 1? Right? And what's the equation for car 2? Well, look. Just go to add a page. Add the graph. And then go up to function 1. That's the equation for the value of car what? 1. It's negative 0.1312x plus 26,240. What's the equation of car 2? Or if you want to see this graph, just hit enter. Hit enter now, and that's graphed. Now, you don't see the graph because it has a y-intercept of 26,000, which is way up here. But it's on there. How do I graph the other one and come up with the equation for the value of car 2? See, this is car 1 value. What's the value of car 2? Right, so here's the value of car 2. We just hit tab and go up. That was function 2. And the equation for that would be y is equal to a negative 0.1028x plus 22,946. That's the equation for the value of that car too, given so many miles. So how do I graph that? Just hit enter. Both of them are graphed now. How do I know they're graphed? Look, here's how you know they're graphed. Hit tab and go up. See the check mark on there now? Y'all see that check mark? It means it's graphed. Go up. That one's got a check mark. It's graphed. I just don't see it. It's just way out there. So what I need to do is I need to change my window where I can see it. So here's what I want you to hit. Hit menu. Let's go to our window settings. So that's window, which is number 4, and then go to window settings, which is 1. Now here's what I want to change my window settings to be. I want to go from 0 to my x's, and the x's in this problem is talking about the miles that I'm putting on a car, which is about 200,000, let's say. And let's count by thousands. Okay? And then likewise, my y min, I'm going to begin here at 10,000. And then I want to go to like 30,000. And I also want to count by thousands. See what that looks like. So it's 0 to 20,000 is my axis. And so x is talking about my miles, which is probably too much. I could probably go from 0 to 100,000. How about that? Let's go 150, just in case. 0 to 150,000 miles. And the value of my car, look, it's anywhere from 10,000 to 30,000. Might be less than that. If you even want to change that to something like maybe it's worth $5,000, I don't know. Okay, to 30,000. I don't think it's going to be worth 30,000. The highest value of this car at any one point in time was what? What's the most expensive value of the car? 22,960? Okay, so maybe it should be maybe less than that. I don't know, but we'll leave it for that for right now. It could be like 25,000. That's fine. But I'm going to leave it like that and just go to OK and find out where did they cross. Wherever they cross is my solution. Solution to what? For the values that they're the same. When are they going to be the same value? When is car 1 equal to the value of car 2? So I just go to Analyze Graph, and I go to Intersection, and find out where they cross. So move it to the left and to the right of there. Oop, there it is. So what does this mean? 11598.5.9 roughly. And then my y is 11022.648 roughly. What does that intersection mean? Well, what is x talking about in the problem? What was y talking about in the problem? X was talking about that many miles, and this is talking about the value after this many miles. Remember, x is the miles, y is the value of the car. So after about 116,000 miles, the cars both have a value of how much is each car worth after about 116,000 miles roughly. Isn't that about 116,000? They're both worth about how much money? $11,022. Maybe $11,000 roughly. You got it? So that's B. We good with that so far? So let's see if we can get one more before the bell rings. Solve this system using elimination. Well, do you have to use elimination to solve it? Nope. But we can. Let me show you how to do elimination, and then we'll stop for today. If I want to solve this by elimination, I need to get these numbers to be the same numbers but different signs. Or same signs, either way. So what you should do is multiply this one by 2 and this one by 3. If I multiply this by 2, I get 0.8x plus 0.6y is equal to 3.4. Likewise, multiply this one by 3, I get 2.1x minus 0.6y is equal to 8 times 3 is 24, but it's a 2.4. And then now if you add these two together, it eliminates the y. And I get it in terms of x. So I get something like 2.9x is equal to 6.8. So to solve that for x, once again, I just take 6.8, go to my calculator, 6.8, and divide it by 2.9 and hit enter, and I get whatever x is. X is 2.344, and then I find the answer choice to that. If I did the math right, it would have come out right, but I did it in a hurry, and I probably messed up. Or you could just graph it and see where they cross, can't you? I don't care what method you use, pick one. Okay, we'll see you guys tomorrow.